Hey guys, as promised, today is the big day where we're going over everything. I'm basically doing this guide on the entire way about MF Windripper, be it whatever class you decided, or sorry, whatever ascendancy you decide to go, but starting from a ranger perspective. So I'm going to go over everything from the start to the finish, from A to Z, from budget to end game, like super high-end mirror-worthy gear. I'm gonna go over everything because the reason why is because gems and links change depending on what gear you have and how much currency you can spend on the build. So your gems are gonna change, your ascendancy is gonna change, your items, some of them are gonna change as well. So we're definitely gonna go over everything. So we're gonna start off with if this was day one of a league and you don't have any currency or any access to any leveling uniques, what are you going to do? Well, the smoothest would be to level up with Lightning Arrow. So the goal is going to be for you to get to Blood Aqueducts as fast as you can, because when you get to Blood Aqueducts, you can actually start farming a bit of currency and get your first tabula and all that. So you're going to level up with Lightning Arrow. Your gem links are going to be Lightning Arrow and Added Cold. Whenever you get a 3 link, which shouldn't be very hard, you're going to throw in some lesser multiple projectiles. It's going to help with your clear. The damage is going to be fine with Added Cold, at least. I mean, bosses might be a little bit aids, but it shouldn't be too bad to get a 4 link. So if you get a 4 link, the 4th link is going to be elemental damage with attacks. It's just the skill that gives you pretty much the most damage. You can go added lightning damage, but the problem with added lightning is it actually requires intelligence, and you're going to be struggling with intelligence early on. So this would be your initial 4 link. I would go lightning arrow, added cold, elemental damage with attacks, lesser multiple projectiles. Not in this order. It would be in this order. So LMP, added cold, lightning arrow, wed, and then if you can, throw in some lightning damage to attacks. Then, you know, at level 38 or whenever you can, whenever you have access to it, switch over to greater multiple projectiles. Is going to be way better than your lesser multiple projectiles. So this is going to be a big upgrade to your damage. In terms of Herald, you're going to go ahead and pick up Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder. And you're going to run these two heralds, pretty much. It's going to be 50% mana reservation from level 16 onwards. And you're actually going to need the other 50% mana, the other 16% mana, if you don't want to be completely all the time. You're also going to need a mana flask if you have 5 links. Even 4 links might require a mana flask really early, whenever you're super low level. So definitely you're going to need a mana flask, but run these two heralds. Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder is what I'd go for. Then, whenever you hit level 24, you're going to drop Herald of Thunder and go Hatred. Hatred is going to be a lot more damage than Herald of Thunder, and the other problem is Herald of Thunder actually requires intelligence, which is a very big problem early on. So drop that, get it to as high level as you can while you're leveling with it. But as soon as you lack intelligence, just don't level it up anymore. Anyways, at level 24, you're getting Hatred. So you're going to run Hatred at level 24. When you're in the second act, you're also going to pick up Blood Rage pretty much as soon as you can and just start using it. The damage you get from it, the little bit of leech and all that is just going to be very good on your quality of life. Anyways, if you're day 1 of a league and you're level 16, you probably have something like 2 life flasks, a mana flask, and like 2 quicksilver flasks. So definitely Blood Rage is going to be good, so you're going to want to run that. Afterwards, make sure when you get to level 24, you also pick up a Haste and a Grace, and you start leveling those. You're not actually going to use them for mana reservation. This is going to be for a little bit later when you start the actual MF with Queen of the Forest, which I'm going to go over in a bit. So Haste and Grace, pick those up at level 24 and just level them in your other weapons or whatever it is. At level 38, whenever you get to Act 6, and you free, what's her face? That one girl anyways, and you have access to the gem seller, pick up a cast when damage taken with an immortal call. You're going to want cast and damage taken on level 1 and immortal call level 3. Reason for that is you want it to proc as often as possible. Uh, the transition, or sorry, actually before that, Curse on Hit setup, Curse on Hit, Assassin's Mark, Herald of Ice. You're going to do that whenever you feel necessary. Honestly, I wouldn't even consider it before maps. It's not that big of a deal. And it's also going to be a little bit hard to get it on your gem links and stuff. It's just struggle. Early on, getting the right links with the right colors and stuff is pretty much of a struggle. So I wouldn't really worry about Curse on Hit, Assassin's Mark, Herald of Ice on like day one of a league, or at least, I mean, day one if you're not playing a whole lot. Obviously, it's going to be maybe like 8 hours in. Whenever you get to Blood Aqueducts and then maps, you want to start thinking about those kind of things. But before that, don't worry about that. It's no big deal. But make sure to pick up a Assassin's Mark, Curse on Hit, and start leveling these up in your offhands. Like these. Oops. X is the key to switch over. Alright, so Blink Arrow, faster attacks, just pick those up as soon as you can. You know, Blink Arrow, you get it for free. So you want to pick that up. It's going to help you with moving around, jumping over ledges, all that kind of thing. Faster attacks is just going to be quality of life if you have the link for it. If you don't have the link for it, just pick one up and level it up in your offhand as well. You do have 6 gem slots in your offhands, which, you know, you can actually put up like 6 gems, which is a lot. So just level one up, and whenever you can, link him up because it's actually going to be really good for quality of life. The transition to Tornado Shot is going to be whenever you get to Blood Aqueducts and you get your Tabula. I would not change to Tornado Shot before getting a Tabula. It's going to be AIDS. It does absolutely no damage. It scales like absolute trash early. It's just bad. I leveled with it this league, and it was a hell of a mistake. I regret it so much. I wasted hours. I couldn't even do incursions because I had no damage. It was just super, super bad. Alright, so the other gems we're actually going to go over later when we do, you know, gear suggestions and whatnot. So, what if actually you're not day one of a league, and you're perhaps at this point in the league, and you want to start a new character? I would recommend to pick up a Storm Cloud. You can use it at level 9. It's going to carry you all the way to level 32, when you can then either pick up a Tempest or get the Servant's Heart Prophecy and turn it into a Tempest, and that will honestly carry you all the way until Blood Aqueducts. If this was day one of a league, I forgot to say in terms of gear, I mean, there's nothing really to say. Just pick up rares and good luck. I mean, if you get some elemental, flat elemental on a bow, that can carry you for a long time. Make sure you have a physical damage belt, that kind of thing. But we're scaling off of elemental on the tree, even early, because whatever it is, it's just going to scale better. You're going to have less. You're going to need less regret orbs to give you some refund points. Refund some skill points. Sorry. But yeah, so just pick up some rares, and honestly, best of luck. It's not really going to matter. I think Lightning Arrow can pretty much carry you in terms of damage with these links and double heralds, and then Hatred. It's going to carry your damage. It shouldn't be a problem with leveling with Lightning Arrow. Even with Tornado Shot, like, it was really bad, but Tornado Shots is really, really bad compared to Lightning Arrow when it comes to leveling. So level up with Lightning Arrow, like I said, the links, and you're going to have no issues. It's going to be super smooth. Just upgrade your bow every few levels whenever you get a better one. Go for elemental bows, I would say, would be the better way to go, and it shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, if we're at this point in the league, you want to level one up, go with Storm Cloud. Get a Tempest at level 32, and that will honestly carry you all the way until Blood Aqueducts. Get yourself a Tabula Rasa with the links I said on your Lightning Arrow. A pair of Wanderlust is always nice for moving pretty fast. A Carry Ward is pretty good. Gives you some dex, which isn't all that much needed, but strength is pretty good to have. Some accuracy, a little bit of prod speed. Move speed is really nice when it comes to trying to just rush through the game, and some prod damage, always good. I probably hit up some cheap La Hoop of All. It gives you a lot of damage from all attributes, some rarity, which doesn't really matter while you're leveling, but a ton of elemental resistances. So go ahead and pick up like 2 of these, and you should be good to go all the way to Blood Aqueducts. I'd probably pick up a pair of Nocturnal Caress just for the attack speed, a little bit of life. It's okay gloves. I mean, it really doesn't matter. You can pretty much go whatever. Pick up a gold room, sorry, because well, all resistances pretty much is the only reason I go for that. And you can put it on at like level 1, which is great. So just these little uniques is pretty much going to carry you through all the way to Blood Aqueducts. And once you're in Blood Aqueducts, it really shouldn't be a problem to transition to Tornado Shot. So now we're gonna get into the actual big part of the video where I cover basically start to finish from, you know, budget friendly to very, very high end. Alright, so we're gonna start with gear. First things you're gonna want to get once you get to Blood Aqueducts or to maps or whatever it is, as soon as you can, is a pair of Sedima's Touch. Aim for you know, 15-16% quantity. They're gonna be super cheap. Even on day 1 of the leagues, they were like 1 chaos. Like 15% quantity ones were like 1 chaos. And also, like if you're pretty low on currency, you can always check up, and there's probably some 4-socketed ones already. Maybe not 4-link, but 4 sockets for also 1 chaos, because they drop with 4 sockets all the time. So you might be lucky and pick one up and not have to waste some fusings. Maybe they're even going to be linked or whatever. So you could even pick up a corrupted pair with 4 links for like 1 onk if there's no good corruption on there. So that's great. Then you're going to want to pick up some gold worms. Don't worry too much. Honestly, if you don't have the currency, just go for like a pretty shit pair. Like even like 16% quantity and like 45 fire res. It's going to be super cheap, and it's going to be good enough until you can afford better ones. Even mine aren't perfect. I'm just really too lazy to buy a perfect pair with some movement speed. It's like 3.5x for 1% quant. I just don't see how that'd be worth it, but whatever. So these two are probably going to be your staple. First things you want to buy whenever you get the currency to. And then a Devotos, probably, just because movement speed, some attack speed, which basically these two things together alone make this helmet amazing. On day 1 or 2 of the league, they're actually really expensive, but they get really inexpensive really fast. So, you know, 2-3 chaos at this point in the league. So definitely pick one of those up. I prioritize chaos resistance quite a bit this league, actually, because of the incursions. The little spitters in the incursions are chaos damage, most of them. So, and there's actually a lot of chaos damage going on in the incursions. So chaos resistance is actually really nice on Devotos. So you can get anything over 20% should do you just fine. Once you have these 3 items, I would say the next thing to buy is a Queen of the Forest. Just because a lot of evasion, then you're going to be able to start stacking some movement speed, and I'll show you guys how to hit the cap. Typically, it's really, really easy to hit 45,000 evasion. So it's not even a problem. On this, what I would prioritize, like I said, evasion is not really a problem. So the evasion roll, I would say, doesn't even matter. You can totally get a 200% one, and you're still going to get 45,000 evasion with all I'm going to tell you what's on the tree and whatnot. So don't worry about that. What I prioritize on this is like 30 or over 35 cold resistance for sure. And then like over 22 lightning, because resistances is going to be the biggest problem when it comes to an MF character running this amount of unique. If you don't want to, you know, have to use some resistances on your quiver or your amulet, which are basically the 2 only places where you could. So that's what I prioritize. Afterwards, if you have your Queen of the Forest, your Devotos, your Sedimas, and your Gold Worms, for your belt, just pick up any rare with some Wed on it, some life on it, and whatever resistances you need, until you can get probably, I would say, a Biscos Leash. Biscos Leash is amazing. It does give quite a bit of cold resistance, which is nice, but then rarity per 15 rampage skills is nice, and then there's 5% flat quantity and some strength. So all in all, this belt is pretty sick. Reality is rampage stacks for every 10 of them, you get 1% movement speed, and this stacks up to 1,000. So basically, you can get 100% movement speed from a Biscos Leash. And while you're doing Blood Aqueducts, it's actually pretty easy to hit, you know, half of that in one run. So you're actually running at the speed of light while you're farming. So this is great. Alternative to that would be, do I even have one anymore? It looks like I don't. Apprentice Blazon is going to help you with some fire res if that's the resistance you need, instead of this one being cold. It's going to give you a bit of fire resistance, and it's all going to give you all attributes. So instead of being strength, It's going to give you strength, int, and dex, which can be quite amazing early on in a league. You're probably going to be lacking all those except for dexterity. So strength and int on there, and it's more quantity. It goes up to 8% versus this is 5% for the maximum. So these would be your 2 belt choices. Otherwise, like I said, a rare with some wed, life, and whatever resistances you need. That would be my priority, because I'm pretty much going in order of price. So Sedemia is going to be the cheapest, then Goldworms, then a Devoto. Like Goldworms, I'm pretty sure a really bad pair is probably a few chaos, like 6 chaos. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. So I guess Devotos is cheaper, but I definitely prioritize a quantity over a Devotos. So, you know, Sedemas, Goldworms, Devotos, Queen of the Forest, and then whatever belt you decide to. Actually, you could get the belt before the Queen of the Forest. I guess it would be cheaper, actually. But at this point, a cheap Queen of the Forest, like I'm pretty sure... well, this is 6-link, so I can't really price check it. But a 6-linked one is... Or, sorry, not a 6-linked one. It's probably just a few chaos. Actually, I have some. Let's see. How much is it for like a non-linked one or whatever? Yeah, 4 chaos, 5 chaos, 6 chaos. So pick one of these up. The belt is actually going to be probably more expensive. Yeah, the belt is actually more expensive than a Queen of the Forest. And if you want like a really good cold roll, you're actually going to end up paying almost 20 chaos for like a 37 roll. They're up to 15 to 18 chaos. So Queen of the Forest is going to be cheaper. Especially if you don't care about the evasion. Like I said, a decent cold roll and a decent lightning roll are actually going to be pretty cheap. So long as you don't look at the evasion, because people are actually putting way too much importance to the evasion, which is really not needed. I'm going to show you that in a bit, where you get all that evasion from to reach the 45,000 evasion cap. Once you have all of these, I would say the next thing in order of importance are your accessories. So you're going to want some Ventors to start off, because it's going to help you off with some resistances. It's going to give you a little bit of quantity. I'd probably look for anything with like 5 to 6 quantity, and then some okay resistances, maybe like 15 of each or something, like some pretty bad resistances, but you're gonna have them for really cheap, probably like 20, 30, 40 chaos. So it's not that expensive for just a little bit of resistances and some half decent quantity. Maybe you can get a bit of life on there. Doesn't have to be Ventors like these, which are like pretty sick. As well as your Ventors, you're definitely going to want to pick up a Spine Fused Talisman. The reason for that is it's basically a free 10% quantity. I don't know, they went up really up in price this league. I paid this one for like 10 chaos if I remember correctly. No, wait, that was my old one. This one I paid actually 1x. So I don't know what happened, but at some point in the league, someone discovered these and made them public or something, and then there's just a big uproar, and they started being valued like crazy. But my first Spine Fused Talisman with 10% quantity, and I had some all attributes on there with no resistances, cost me like 2 chaos. So these are not that expensive compared to something like that, which is like, yeah, I just look at this and I kind of get a boner. So nice amulet. Probably gonna put it up for mirror service, by the way, if anybody's interested. Fee's gonna be really low because I know for a fact it's multi-modded, but you know, it's still, there's just no equal right now on PoE.trade. So just a little parentheses, if ever you want that amulet, hit me up. I can totally mirror it for you. And we can also change the multi-modded if ever you want some all-res or whatever you need. Okay, sorry, had to do a little bit of self-advertisement. Alright, so once you have your Spine Fused Talismans and your 2 half okay, decent, maybe Ventors, you're pretty much all set to go. Then you're actually starting to get into the big ticket item. So the next thing in order of importance would probably be a Windripper. Does not have to be 6-linked. Like you see, I'm using a non-linked one, actually, just because I'm leveling gems into it. For your Queen of the Forest, or whatever you decide to link first, be it a Windripper or your Queen of the Forest, a single 5-link will do you just fine. I'm going to go over that in a bit, your links, when it comes to 5-link, 6-link, and then when it comes to Rigwald versus +1 hour quivers versus really beginner gear, and all of that. I'm going to go over everything. So we're going to keep going. I'd say pick up a Windripper at that point. Whenever you have all the rest, basically the Quiver, by the way, whatever you need. If you're lacking life and you're really low on life, get a life Quiver. If you need some resistances, I know people who have like a trip like 120 resistance on their quiver, because that's just the only place they can get it. So get some resistances. It really doesn't matter too much. The links and the rest of the gear is going to carry you. It's not that big of a deal. Obviously, it's going to add a ton of damage, like a ton, but it's not needed early. I wouldn't prioritize it. That would be the last thing I would pick up. So definitely hit up a Windripper. Like I said, doesn't have to be linked. I think a non-linked one with a pretty shit roll is probably like 2 Exalts, which honestly is not that much money. Like, I'm sorry. You guys might think, oh my god, 2 Exalts? Yeah, you can totally make that in 2 hours of mapping, or like 3 hours if you're pretty slow. Just in currency drops and whatever random crap, so long as you're efficient and pretty quick. So definitely pick up a Windripper. It's going to help you. Before you have a Windripper, what I used to have was a Chainsaw. Just some random Chainsaw. The roll on it is no big deal. As you see, this is actually the one I used to have. I had a good physical damage roll, which honestly doesn't matter because we're scaling off elemental. Dexterity roll doesn't give a crap. Attack speed roll is probably the most important stat, and mine was 10%, as you can see. So definitely a shit one, and I could still do bosses and all that just fine when it came to T3 burials anyways. So Chainsaw, not a problem. You're definitely going to want to hit up a Windripper as soon as you have 2 Exalts though. Next in order of importance would be your Quiver. I would go, depending on your budget. If you're pretty budget wise, like you need something that's pretty bad and it's going to cost you not much, I'd probably go for one of these. Not like this. The reason why this one is pretty crazy expensive is because of the rolls on there. But in reality, what I meant is like a Quiver with something like life on it, a little bit of crit multi, maybe a little bit of wed, maybe some resistances. Like I said, whatever you need, but some bit of damage and probably a spike point, because you get some crit chance on the implicit, which is nice. But if you can't afford one, whatever, just go whatever Quiver you need with the stats you need. That's really all that matters on there. So that's it for that. Whenever you get to the point where you have around 4 to 6 Exalts to invest in a Quiver is when you can start looking at multi-modded Quivers. So a Quiver with just bow attacks fire an additional arrow and no elemental damage with attack skills as a natural roll. Just a multi-modded one with can have multiple crafted mod, attack speed, crit multiplier, life, and increased elemental damage with attack skills, which goes up to 22%, by the way, 8 to 22. Those are going to cost about 4 to 6 Exalt, depending on the base, the eye level of the Quiver, and a few different things. So that would be your next thing in order of importance. Now, when it comes to +1 arrow Quivers versus Rigwalds, it really depends what you're going to do. If you want a Quiver that's good for everything, like a very good all-rounder Quiver, I would go for a +1 arrow. It's going to be way better when it comes to killing bosses. It's going to be way better when it comes to clearing higher tier content. It's just all around a better Quiver. Rigwalds is only for speed. Sorry. Rigwalds is for speed, speed, speed. The only reason we're getting this is because projectiles fork, which means your projectiles, whenever they hit something, they make a 100-degree angle, and 2 projectiles then fork. So they leave. So your 1 arrow becomes 2, and then if you have more, and then so on and so forth. So that would probably be. This is what I'm using currently for my T3 barrel chambers, and it's what gives me the most speed. But if I wanted an all-rounded character that could do everything, I'm going back to a +1 arrow Quiver any day. It's much better. Your damage is way off the charts compared to something like this. If you can get, yeah, let's not get into that. So that's it for the Quivers. Basically, just get whatever you need, and then when you have a little bit more currency, look at a multi-modded Quiver. Then if you have a little bit more currency, maybe look at a multi-modded Quiver with some natural elemental damage with attack skills, which goes up to 50%. This is a perfect roll. Look up for anything in the 30 to 40% roll range, and it's going to be way better than 8 to 22. Because if you get one with like 16%, then and versus like 38, it's a pretty massive difference when it comes to damage. The price is also going to be a few more Exalts, but like I said, if you have the currency, definitely go for a natural roll. Like this one here is worth something like 20 Exalts just because it's a perfect T1 roll with perfect attack speed. But if you want to go for just T3 burial chambers and speed, go for Rigwalds. So I think that's it for the quivers. Now we're gonna go over something way a little bit more. Sorry, what am I looking for? A little bit more in depth. So we're gonna look at two different builds. They're both for the same reason. They both do the same thing, but they're both quite different. So what you're gonna be doing, what we're gonna be looking at, and this is Windripper MF build from Grimro PoE. He's a YouTuber. He does great content, by the way. This is his build for his guide on Windripper, and this is actually what I based my build on. To be honest, I totally ripped it off from him. So you're gonna path through some evasion. Definitely gonna pick up some evasion. So I'm gonna show you guys at the same time how you reach 45,000 evasion cap for your Queen of the Forest. So as you see, my evasion is 28,000, and then when I pop my Experimenter's Jade Flask of Reflexes, sorry, it goes up to 50 point whatever thousand, which is over the cap. So how you're gonna reach that is mostly on the tree, then by running the Grace aura, because you're gonna switch over to Grace whenever you get your Queen of the Forest. That's one thing I forgot to mention. Whenever you get your Queen of the Forest, you go ahead and switch over to Grace. So you're going to drop Hatred and slap on Queen of the Forest and Grace. Without Grace, it's really hard to hit that cap. You're going to need some insane gear. But with Grace, it's actually relatively easy, even with a bad roll in Queen of the Forest. I don't have a bad roll, but even with, trust me, it's really easy to hit that. Reason for that is there's this flask called Experimenter's Jade Flask of Reflexes. And on base, it gives you 3,000 evasion. But then whenever you roll of reflexes on it, it actually gives you a % evasion rating during the flask effect from 60 to 100%. So you see, whenever I pop this, my evasion goes up 94%. And this is multiplier to everything else on the evasion. So it's a multiplier to my base evasion rating, which is right now 28,000, as you can see right here. 28,000 becomes, 28,000 becomes 50.7 thousand. Or 50,700, sorry. Oof. So yeah, it becomes, basically it gets multiplied by 94%. It's almost double, which is pretty insane. This is basically how you reach the cap really, really cheap. You don't need evasion anywhere. I don't have evasion here, obviously there you do. I don't have here, nope. I do have some in my Devotos, but you'd also have some in something like a Star Conja. The reason I'm going Devotos is just purely for speed. But if you want to be tankier and beefier, I would say definitely go Star Conja. The evasion rating is actually higher, and it gives you a shit ton of life, a little bit less attack speed, and the biggest thing for me is just no movement speed. But if I was in like a hardcore league, I would definitely go Star Conja. So that's it for your helmet choices. I would not go Rat's Nest unless you're really, really bad, like on crit. If you're lacking a ton of crit, then you can go Rat's Nest. I actually don't have any to show you guys, but a Rat's Nest would be like if you just don't have enough crit, then you go Rat's Nest. Otherwise, stay away from Rat's Nest. Go Devotos or Star Conja. Unless you want like a +2 arrow enchant on your helmet, Rat's Nest is probably going to be the cheapest one. Apparently, Devotos is around 20 to 25 exalt for one, depending on the roll. Star Conja is something like 12 to 15, and then Rat's Nest is probably cheaper. I'm guessing. I do not know, so please, don't come saying no. It's really much more expensive. Blah blah blah. I haven't checked. It's just I assume it is. So, by the way, the enchant, it would be the last thing you would get after getting everything else. I would get the enchant because it's the most expensive thing. I know in my video earlier in the league I said to get this as a priority, but that's because we were super early in the league and they were still very cheap. You could get a Tornado Shot fires 2 additional secondary projectiles on a Devotos for like 10x and like 6x on a Star Conja. So it was really cheap. At this point, it's like 3 times the price. So definitely something you can get later down the road. But this is your endgame enchant. Nothing's going to beat this. It's insane, and you can't really go without it. If you're trying to tackle like the fastest you can actually go and the most damage you can possibly do, nothing's going to beat this. So that's it for the enchant. That's it for the helmets and all that. So definitely the last thing you're going to pick up. Now, like I said, I'm going to show you how to get this much evasion to reach the cap, which is 45,000. So you're going to get some evasion on your Destiny Leather, your Queen of the Forest, obviously, and some on your Devotos or Snark Anja, whatever it is. Rest of the gear does not touch evasion except for your Jade, Flask, or Reflexes, and this is mandatory. You cannot not use this. The prefix, I have Experimenters, a perfect... no, it's not even. Wow, I thought it was. Wow, I need to totally redo this one. Anyways, I'm using Experimenters, but you can honestly use any prefix. Doesn't matter, as long as you have a good evasion rating during Flask Effect roll. I would go 90% and over. And if you have more evasion other places, so long as you hit 45,000, you know, if you need a 70% flask, then go for 70%. Whatever you need, you just really need 45,000 evasion to hit the plus 75% movement speed on your Queen of the Forest, because you have like, it's basically 100% minus the 25 base. Because if you're not hitting that number, let's say I was to use a Queen of the Forest right now, right? With 28,000 evasion, I'm basically getting 1% move speed per 450 evasion, and this is basically half. So I'm getting like 50% move speed, right? But then I'm losing 25 from the actual reduced move speed, so I'm only getting like 25% move speed. So I'm not really running fast compared to if I pop my flask, which gets me to 50,000, then it's no problem. But like I said, it only has to be 45,000. So this is where you get your evasion on the tree. You start here, go here, get all of these. These are going to be evasion. Then you're going to path over here, get yourself Winter Spirit. This is if you're leveling, by the way. If you're leveling the character, this is how you path. Like this, get over here, get some Winter Spirit, head over down here. Do not pick those up yet. Get some damage, up, get some life, up. Do not pick up crit yet because you're not going crit. Pick up some resistances if you need them. Otherwise, you can start heading over there, and get all this evasion right here. This gives you a ton of evasion. Like these nodes, this is 16, this is 16, so that's 32, and this is 12. Or sorry, 18, so that's 50% evasion in just this wheel right here. So definitely pick those up. Once you're done with this, you're going to go back down. You're going to go over here, come pick up this damage, this evasion, and this life, and this damage. At this point, you're probably getting pretty close to Blood Aqueducts and whatnot. Decently close anyways. So start pathing upwards. Get all these nodes, even if you don't have a Lionized Fall Jewel yet, because this is actually one of the things you're going to prioritize. Sorry, I totally forgot to talk about Lionized Fall. Lionized Fall is bought before the Windripper. So after all the basic gear, but before a Windripper, you're going to get a Lionized Fall. Early in their league, they're about 40 to 50 C. At this point, they're like 1.5x. But early in the league, they're really cheap. But yeah, right now they're pretty expensive. But definitely you get this before a Windripper. It gives you a ton of damage because these nodes over here get converted to bow nodes, and it's something like, let's see, crit multi 15, 15, 15. So you get like 45% crit multi, and I think 60% crit chance. Yep, 60% crit chance. And then some leech, which is the most important. A bit of physical, doesn't really matter, but leech is the biggest thing. So definitely get that before a Windripper. One second, I'm going to take a little bit of sip on my drink. My throat is getting really dry. Alright. Afterwards, once you have all these nodes and these here, to be able to pick up your Lionized file as soon as you can, you're going to path up, get this life, get these. This is also evasion. And then, once you have all this, you're actually pretty much able to start looking to go crit. So you're going to pick up these nodes, here's some life, some damage, some attack speed, and you're going to go back down and pick up this crit. You're going to and then I would say you path upwards here. It's a lot of travel points, which kind of sucks. But the reason for that is you get a 24% node here, as well as some resistances, and some resistances here for just 3 points. It's 18 all res, which is very, very good. Afterwards, I would say you start getting some movement speed. This is when you start prioritizing movement speed whenever your survivability and damage are good enough. So don't go heading out for movement speed ASAP if you don't have the damage to be able to use it. So in terms of movement speed, the nodes you're going to pick up once you're done picking up all of these, you're going to pick up these here, quick step. Then you're gonna go ahead and pick up celerity. So these nodes here, these node here, and I believe that's it. Afterwards, you're pretty much at the point you're like in the level 80s, so it becomes longer to level. You're gonna start going for jewel sockets. You can go for jewel sockets earlier if you feel the need to, and if you have good jewels to put in there. You know, just take whatever jewel socket you see fit. So this one you can get it for 1 point. This one you get it for 2 points. This one's going to be the end game one. This one you're going to get for a few points, but you're actually really going to need this one because you're going to need these 2 intelligence nodes for your curse on hit and increased crit strikes, gems, and other things I'm going to be talking about soon when I talk into the choice in gems when it comes to Windripper, because there's basically 2 different trees and 2 different gems. So this tree I'm going over here is for a specific gem choice. Sorry, Jesus. Specific gem choice. And the other tree is going to be for another specific gem choice. So this is how you're going to get all the evasion. All these nodes you see here with the red circles are going to give you a ton of evasion. So as you see here, where is it? Evasion chance. No, evasion from the tree. You get 287% evasion from the tree. And then when you start adding up even very low amounts, like, you know, 2,000 here, 700 here, and like none anywhere else. These two, along with all this evasion you get on the tree, gets you to 45,000 extremely easily with the help of a good rolled reflex or Jade Flask of reflexes. You could honestly be at something like 22,000 evasion, or maybe even less, and you're gonna cap out with a, or actually no, you could be at basically 22,500. No, wait, 22,000. Yeah, 22,500. I'm really sorry. You could be at 22,500 and you're still going to cap out with this. And what's going to help a lot is obviously your Grace Gem. You're going to want a level 20 Grace Gem. That alone gives you almost 3,000 evasion, so that's really big. Like I said, you go over and transition to Grace whenever you get your Queen of the Forest and you drop Hatred. You keep Herald of Ice. You're going to need it to shatter with your Windripper. Alright, so we've gone over one tree. So what this tree is for is actually, as in Grimm's guide and stuff, this is the tree you're going to go for. By the way, this jewel here is basically the last thing you get on the tree, unless you need strength really badly. This is the last part of the tree, like your last few levels. The Bandit, by the way, is a Lyra. It's going to help you with crit multi and resist, which are basically the 2 things you need a lot of whenever you're playing MF Windripper. So this tree over here that you're seeing right now is basically Grimro's tree, and this is for a +1 arrow quiver. And +1 arrow quiver has these links. So if you're playing with a +1 arrow quiver, I repeat, I just want to make myself very clear. If you're playing with a +1 arrow quiver or a non-+1 arrow quiver, such as like just a rare quiver, this is the tree you go for, and this is your Ascendancy. Oops. This is your Ascendancy. First thing you pick up in normal lab is Gathering Winds. Reason is going to help with evasion a lot. Like if I take this off, as you can see, my evasion actually goes down to 48,000, and with this it's 56. So it's a big deal. This isn't actually my evasion, it's with his items and stuff. So definitely a big deal. You definitely want to pick up Gathering Winds first. Second thing you're going to pick up is Far Shot, then Endless Munitions, because it fires an additional projectile, is a ton of damage. It's basically like a multiplier of let's say you're shooting 3 arrows on base, then it's 4, so it's like a 33% multiplier, which is big. And the last thing you're gonna get is Fast and Deadly. Accuracy rating is double is nice. It's not really necessary all that much, but the attack speed is also nice. The projectile damage is also nice. And the Blink Arrow and Mirror Arrow cooldown recovery speed are pretty amazing when it comes to just jumping over stuff, especially in Burial Chambers. There's a lot of ledges and stuff to jump over. Well, less with the new one, but with the old one, it was actually crazy how much crap you had to jump over. So, just to make it clear, once more, this is the tree you go for the more budget-oriented or somewhat boss killer, this is what you go for. If you're looking to maybe kill some bosses and you know, progress to your Atlas and not spend your entire league in T3 burial chambers, and you want to be able to do some higher content, you go for this tree with a +1 arrow quiver, or a non+1 if you can't afford it, but whatever. You definitely go for this. I get a lot of questions frequently. How do you cap your resistances? So this isn't my tree, as I said, but I'm still going to go over it because I get most of this. And we're going to go ahead and type in elemental resistances. This is how you cap out on your elemental resistances. Most of them actually come from the tree. You do get 15%, I believe, from Alira. If I remember correctly, it's 15% to all resistances from Alira, which is nice. Then you're also going to get this node over here. No, elemental resistance. What am I saying? You get these nodes over here. These are 3 each, and this is 8. So it's a 14% all resistance, and one to max cold, which really doesn't matter. But you're still getting, you know, 14 all res here. This doesn't give you any. Nullification gives you 8, which is pretty nice. Then Sentinel gives you 10, which is also pretty good. These ones here actually give you 18 each, so 3 points for 18 all res. Is it the best points ever? No, but it allows you to get a jewel socket for a single point. So I think it's worth it. In my book, that's worth it. So that's mostly how you're going to cap your resistance out. Sentinel, Survivalist, Nullification, and then Alira. Those alone will pretty much help you out with your resistances. Other places where you're going to get them is obviously on your Ventors gambles, as I've previously said. Ventors gambles are going to help you with your resistances, and then your Quiver could have the possibility to help you with your resistances as well if you need that. Your Queen of the Forest is going to help you with resistances quite a bit, especially if you get, like I said, a very nice cold roll and a pretty decent lightning roll. Those are going to be great, and you can totally get some on a rare amulet if you so choose to, or if you get like one like I had, like this one, you know, 10 all res and 15 fire. Definitely going to help out with your resistances. I'm going to go over my character after this because we're pretty much done with a +1 arrow variation. So this is the +1 arrow tree. This is the Ascendancy. These are the jewel sockets you get. This is the elemental resistance nodes you get, and the evasion nodes you get. So we've pretty much gone over everything when it comes to +1 arrow quiver choice. Now we're going to move on to my character and my choice. So I opened up a Path of Building, another one, and this one is my character that I'm currently playing, my pathing, the choices I made, and why I made these choices. So once again, we're going to go ahead and look up some elemental resistances. So in my pathing, as you can see, it's pretty much the same. I pick up Sentinel, I pick up Survivalist, I pick up Nullification. So where does my actual resistances come from? Because I'm pretty much capped except on fire, but I'm going to be fixing that pretty soon. Well, the reality is I actually had to give up a little bit of damage on my jewels to pick up some resistances. And sure, that's not the greatest thing ever. But as you can see, I am pretty much very like capped on this, capped on that, and 8 off fire. But I'm going to be taking care of that today with another jewel. So I'm going to show you my jewels real quick. They're actually pretty insane, but you know, you could actually just minus a little bit of attack rolls on there and just get more res, or maybe even you could get a jewel that is just like this one. Wait, no, where is it? Where's that jewel I used to use? I totally can't find it. Wow. That sucks. I guess maybe I just threw it out. But some jewels anyways, like the old versions, like Viridian jewels and whatnot, like these, you can get some like triple elemental resistance roll on there, so a single one of them can get you a ton of resistances. So I have some here, but I don't know if, so it's okay. But that's how I cap out. I'm not currently capped on fire, but as I said, I'm going to be taking care of that today. So as you see, this jewel I have here has some life, some cold resistance, then some cold to bow attacks and some crit multiplier if I've killed recently. So the jewels is pretty much perfect for me. The only thing is it could have like 50 life. If it did, the jewel would be worth like a fortune, but as it is, it's pretty good, and it's basically taking care of what I need. Then I have a sick damage jewel. It's just damage on damage on damage, 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 damage. Pretty insane jewel, but like I said, that kind of damage is just honestly unnecessary. Unnecessary completely. So you could totally pick another one up with a single res or maybe some all res. Another jewel socket I have is this one. Like you can see, all resistances, cold damage to attacks, lightning damage to attacks. I'm not sure on the rolls, on the current actual rolls on these. I might just slam it. That's T2, T1, T1, T2, T2. I don't think that's worth slamming. What eye level is it? Yeah, 72. This is not worth slamming. So we're not going to be slamming that jewel, unfortunately. Then we have this jewel here. I'm going to go over that when I go over the speed, how I get this amount of speed, because my speed is pretty stupid. As you can see, with flasks up, my movement speed goes up to 261. So, pretty insane amount of movement speed. So I'm going to be going over that soon, how I reach these numbers. Alright. So, other jewel, definitely get yourself a movement speed while affected by Grace Watcher's Eye. They're actually really cheap. And then the second or third, what do you want to call those? Affix or whatever you want to call them, or it just doesn't matter. So I got physical damage from hits taken as lightning while affected by purity of elements. Does not matter so long as I have some movement speed while affected by Grace. A perfect roll is really cheap, like I said. It really doesn't matter much. Then I have a Lionized Fall here. This is the only place you can use it for these nodes. And then the jewel from yesterday's video. You know, some all-res, T1 Cold, T1 Lightning, I believe, or T2 Cold, T1 Lightning, and a bit of Strength and Intelligence, which I both needed. I could honestly change out all these jewels for just all T1 flat damage jewels, but the reality is I need some Strength and Intelligence just because of gems I'm leveling. Not even because of actual things I need on my character, but just because of gems I'm leveling. So I'm leveling some Vitality, some Summon Skeleton, some Raise Zombie, just random gems that I want a 21-23 kind of thing. And because I'm leveling those, I needed some intelligence. So sure, you might say it's a bit of a waste, but whatever. Alright, so then we're going to go over some movement speed. So how you cap out on movement speed, well, it's not cap out, I don't think there's a cap, but how you reach the kind of number I reached, which is, like I said, 261, and it used to be for 265. Actually used to be more than that, so I don't know what I changed, but it used to be like 270 or 280 or something. So this is how you're going to do that. As you can see on the tree, oh, I used to have this one. That's why, 333, and then I had this as well, which I don't anymore. So I was just struggling on points. Like this one strength point is just, I kind of needed it. I had to pick it up. Otherwise, I would not have this, but whatever. So yeah, movement speed. Quick step, pretty damn good movement speed over here. You get 6%. You get 2% here, 2% here. So these are nice. Not necessary though to get R the Oak, but it's a pretty good thing, and it gives you some damage. And then you can get 4% movement speed here, which is the next point I'm actually going to be getting, which requires level 83. But I'm totally going to be getting this 1 point as well, which is going to take my movement speed up by 4%. Then you can always get this one as here. This one right here for another 2%, and then you can also get these three for some movement speed as well later down the road whenever you push 100 if you decide to do so. Otherwise, you're also getting celerity, which movement speed over here. Then you're also getting Fangs of the Viper. This gives you movement speed as well. Other than that, how you're going to reach these kind of crazy movement speed, you're going to get 10% on your boots, which is nothing to actually write home about. You have the possibility of getting up to 5% from a Torah craft on your amulet, which is, I mean, I guess it can help a little bit. But mostly the amount of movement speed you're going to get is going to be from, what was I trying to say? Your Queen of the Forest, your evasion, the amount of evasion you get. And then, Other than that, you're also going to get a Alchemist Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline, and it has to be Alchemist Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline, and a perfect one would be great, like this one, but you can totally get a non-perfect one and it's fine. Just alt it yourself, I guess. You can also buy it, whatever it is. It's amazing. Get one of these. It basically gives you 40% movement speed, as you can see. That's the base. Then it gives you another 30% during the flask effect, so it puts it up to 70% movement speed while you have the flask up. And then what it does, it reduces the duration by 1/3, but it gives you 25% increased effect. So those 70% actually become, almost 100% movement speed, which is pretty insane. Then your evasion flask is going to bring you up to the evasion cap for the Queen of the Forest, which is going to give you more movement speed. And then you have nodes like this one here, which give you flask effect duration, which means the effect of the flask is higher. So like I said, that 70% is another 20% higher when it comes to your flasks. So that makes you even faster. So that's how you're going to go about that. Those nodes, if you push level 100, can be had at different places. So flask effect, you can have it here. You also have some here apparently. No, that's not it. Flask effect, no, that's elemental damage. So you totally just have some here. I thought you had some here or something. Oh, this is skill effect duration. And this is mana flask. This is life flasks. Alright, so I guess it's actually just here. There's no other place. So my bad about that. I thought there was one more place, but I guess not. So now, what we're going to do is the final part of this video. This has been going on for a long ass time. We're going to go over my choice in build, and not just my choice, but the build you should use if instead of going +1 arrow quiver, you're going Rigwalds quills. If you're going Rigwalds quills, you have your gems are gonna your gems, sorry, and your socket, what you're using, your sockets, your skill gems. Jesus, I'm just at the point I can't even speak anymore. Your skill gems are gonna differ depending on your gear and the amount of damage you have. So I'm going to be going over this as the last part of the video. Hopefully I can make it quick. So the links you're going to be using, if you're using, oh, I totally didn't go over that. Oh my god. Alright, I'm sorry. So if you have a +1 arrow quiver, like I was talking about earlier, a +1 arrow or a non+1 arrow quiver, the gem links you're going to be using is Tornado Shot, Greater Multiple Projectiles, Pierce, Added Cold, increased elemental damage with attacks, and then your 6th link is going to be increased critical strikes. So this is the gems you use if you have a +1 arrow quiver. These gems right here. If on the other hand you're going with my tree, by the way, what changes on the Ascendancies, instead of getting fast and deadly, you go ahead and pick up Ricochet, because Ricochet makes your skill chain one more time. And then since you have Projectiles Fork, basically like I said, the arrow splits into 2 arrows which go at a 180-degree angle. Well, instead of just hitting one person, then they chain to another, which basically gives you insane clear speed. In terms of clear speed, you can clear like a screen and a half away because of Rigwalds quills alone. So that's pretty insane. So then, if you're going with that route, because you have a Rigwalds quills, the gems you're going to use are going to be Mirage Archer, Elemental Damage with Attacks, Added Cold, Greater Multiple Projectiles, and Tornado Shot. As a final link, you're going to use Ice Bite. But now there's also another variation, and this one is pretty important. If you get to the point where your gear is insane, I'm thinking insane, kind of like mine right now. I have, T1, like, I'm not just talking about gear. What I should say actually is you get to the point where your damage is insane. So if you get to the point, like right now, my Tornado Shot DPS is 30,000. That's my tooltip, and that doesn't count in much. That's just basically my gems and the stuff I have on my tree. So 20,000 tooltip is actually a lot for Tornado Shot, honestly. And this is way too overkill for T3 burial chambers. So if you get to this kind of point where you see my Mirage Archer is level 21, my Wed is level 21, my GMP is 23 quality, my added cold is level 21, my tornado shot is level 21, and my ice bite is level 21. And I have a near perfect Windripper in here, but I don't actually use it, so whatever, I guess. And you get a Headhunter, which pretty much gives you a ton of damage whenever you get these rare mod stacks. And also, most importantly, you have Abyss Jewels with a ton of damage. So as you can see, this one here is T1 cold damage to bow attacks with T1 critical strike multiplier if you've killed recently. This one is T2 fire damage to attacks, T1 cold damage to attacks, T2 cold damage to bow attacks, and T1 lightning damage to bow attacks. And then, by the way, I pick up Fangs of Frost. Whenever you go with my tree variation, you do not pick up Winter Spirit, you go Fangs of Frost, actually. And I'm going to be going for this Jewel Socket as I level up, but I'm probably actually not going to get these levels because I keep dying to Elemental Reflect unidentified maps. But if ever I was to push 100, I would go ahead and get this Jewel Socket as well. So because this this variation of the tree actually allows you to get one more Jewel Socket over here for cheap with 2 nice evasion nodes next to it. You can also go, let's say you're playing hardcore, instead of getting all of these, if you're using Ventors gambles and your resistances are fine, then you can totally drop all of this, all these nodes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 nodes, and pick up these for some life and a Jewel Socket. And you keep this Jewel Socket. So in the end, it's basically the same as right now, but you don't get these elemental resistance rolls. Instead, what you do is you get Golem's Blood, which is a lot of life. So you can get 20% life right here, which is going to make you a lot tankier if you're playing something like hardcore. So you do this, and then you pick up a Jewel Socket. It's basically the same amount of point, but instead of, you're trading off elemental resistances for life. Alright, so like I said, if you get to the point where I'm at currently with, you know, these kind of jewels, T2 cold, T2 lightning, all resistance, and then like this kind of jewel, like T2 cold to bow and T1 cold to bow, and that kind of thing where your damage is just insane, like you're hitting 30k tooltip with a Mirage Archer setup, then what you can do, only then what you can do if you have some nutty freaking gear, is go ahead and actually take off Ice Bite, take it off, and throw in Chain. And what this allows you to do is not only your gem chains 1 time because of your Ascendancy point, but they chain 2 times. So now they're actually chaining 3 times. So this obviously kills your damage. My damage goes from like 30,000 to 18,000. But 18,000 is, I'm going to show you real quick. Let's just take like some random map. Let's take a nice one. Let's take this one. Sure. What's this? Got on there. Oh, even monster life on there. So 28% monster life might actually kind of be sucky to kill the boss. But you know what? We're still going to do it just to prove a point. So in reality, if you get some pretty nutty damage, you can totally use this. And as you can see, like a single shot clears off like everything. Like I just shoot once and yeah, this happens. So I only shot once. I ran this entire time. And things just chain. Things just chain and chain and chain. And so long as they can chain, mobs die. So, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to run this map real quick. Do I even have anything showing up? Oh, I don't. Oh, damn it. Sorry, I don't know what dropped. Oh, there's a cartographer here. Totally almost missed that. That would have sucked. Oh, there's a Chaos Orb here. Nice, nice, nice. Alright, let's just keep going ASAP. Wow, this is like no density. So as you can see, sometimes even rares, even with this kind of damage and this type of gear, rares actually, I guess this does have like 28% monster life, but rares actually live sometimes. So I'm going really slow, but I'm just trying to show that, wow, I just can't pick up anything. I'm just trying to show that this is the best when it comes to clear speed. I shoot once and just everything dies. Like everything just changes and dies. All I have to do is shoot once and run. This actually works in incursions as well as I'm going to show. here. Shoot once. All this dies. Shoot another time. Run. This is dead. Alright, like 50 seconds left. Totally didn't pick up anything this map. Whatever. It's fine. The boss, as I said, might be a little bit more of a dick, but it's still not that bad. As you see, it dies pretty fast. So if you get to the point where you have insane gear, feel free to change Ice Bite for Chain. That is pretty much the last thing I wanted to say for this very long video. I really hope nobody's going to have any questions, because I went over how to cap resistances, how to cap out on evasion, every single choice you have when it comes to playing a Windripper MF characters, either with a +1 arrow or Rigwalds. I went over the gear and why you choose different things. So this is pretty much as complete as A to Z as I feel is possible. So I will actually put up annotations or timestamps, I should say, in the description, because the video is an hour long, and if some people just really want to see like a certain part of the build, then they're going to be able to do so without having to sit through, you know, an hour of me talking and mis-talking, because an hour of just talking is actually really hard, apparently. So this concludes this video. I hope I've been as informative, and this is going to be as comprehensive as humanly possible, given what I'm working with. And hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you pretty much have a grasp on everything there is to know about, you know, Windripper, Deadeye, MF, and MF, as well as Ascendancy classes, different choices in gear, and everything else. So if anybody of your friends or anything else have questions about, you know, Windripper, Deadeye, MF, or anything like that, I would ask, which I normally never do, just go ahead and send them over to this video and tell them to watch whatever part they need to watch. And you know, I think there's no other way that they could actually, well, I'm guessing there's actually other videos about this kind of subject, but I think as pretty much complete as this, I've never personally seen anything. So I think that's it for the video. I'm going to go ahead and say thanks you guys for watching. If you sat through the entire thing, holy crap, you are insane. If you're just going through the annotations, well, that's great as well, or the timestamps. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your time. If you have any questions still, or if you have any suggestions of things I should change in my own build or whatever it might be, please let me know, and I'll be totally sure to look into it. Other than that, thanks for watching a whole lot, and I will catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.